One of my favorite things about horror literature is that it brings the metaphor of the text to the forefront. So, horror literature is more or less about the zombies, it's about the werewolf, it's about the vampire. Well, because it's about the vampire, and the vampire is the element which is different from your day to day world, we get to pick that out as the metaphor immediately. And then we just use the rest of the text to sort of understand what that metaphor is for. Now, today's poem is one that I'm not sure I would classify as horror literature, though it will appear in the Classic Haunts playlist here on the channel, because it is utilizing a symbol that is often associated with horror texts, with horror genres, with the spooky and the mysterious. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Ford, and we are here for a poetry discussion, which will appear in two different playlists here on the channel. Three different playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, now over 800 videos strong. Number two being the Classic Haunts playlist, 31 horror videos in 31 days leading up to Halloween 2025. And number three being the Ranier Maria Rilke playlist, a name that always gives me problems because of my lazy Midwestern tongue. The poem in question today is known as The Black Cat, and it reads as such. A ghost, though invisible, still is like a place your sight can knock on, echoing. But here, within this thick black pelt, your strongest gaze will be absorbed and utterly disappear. Just as a raving madman, when nothing else can ease him, charges into his dark night howling, pounds on the padded wall, and feels the rage being taken in and pacified. It seems to hide all looks that have ever fallen into her, so that, like an audience, she can look them over, menacing and sullen, and curl to sleep with them. But all at once, as if awakened, she turns her face to yours, and with a shock you see yourself, tiny, inside the golden amber of her eyeballs, suspended like a prehistoric fly. So the metaphor here, the black cat in question, it's a person, right? And I just want to get into, so I took a lot of psychology courses in college. When I was I didn't go straight to college. I had to go to community college first. And I took a lot of psychology courses there because the psychology professor was the best professor that I kind of found. And I wasn't particularly interested in psychology, but I wanted to learn things. And there was a term that stuck with me: projective identification. So I dug this up from psychologytoday.com so that someone can explain it better than me. Understanding Boundaries, What is Projective Identification? What to Do When You Lose Your Boundaries, by John Burton, MD, from psychologytoday.com. Now, this isn't exactly the DSM, but I think it gives us a place to start from. In uncomfortable situations with another person, it is sometimes difficult to know where the discomfort comes from, us or them. Who hasn't had an experience dealing with someone they dread? And I promise we're getting around to something. I'm not talking about a person being openly offensive or frustrating. I'm referring to the kind of interaction where there might not be an obvious problem or conflict, yet one is left feeling uncomfortable, uneasy. We can't put our finger on the cause, making it seem all the more unnerving. We may stop acting like our usual selves. It feels difficult, if not impossible, to find a constructive way out of these awkward situations. Psychoanalysis has several concepts to describe this dilemma. One is called projective identification. Projective identification was first described by psychoanalyst Melanie Klein. Here is how it works. Person A, has a feeling they'd rather avoid, and so they avoid it. Let me read that again. Person A has a feeling they'd rather avoid, and so they project it unconsciously onto person B. Many times the projection fails because the other person refuses to accept the projection. They won't be put on in that way. However, in some cases, person B resonates or somehow identifies with person A's projection. There are certain personalities that will provide the clay necessary for you to imprint your fist upon, and ends up acting or feeling in ways that combine both person A's projection and person B's feelings. And then we have projective identification. I know, a little bit out there, but they do provide an example. Valerie is a successful personal trainer who loves her work. She has helped countless clients achieve their fitness goals. Her new client, Tom, wants to lose weight and increase his core strength. After their first meeting, Tom sent Valerie several texts. She answered them, but felt a bit overwhelmed by his neediness. At the second session, Tom appeared sullen. He also had made none of the changes she suggested. So I'm going to highlight that so we can come back to it. Valerie found Tom's lack of enthusiasm frustrating. She also had a tendency to blame herself if clients didn't improve, wondering if she was doing something wrong. During their second session, she experienced an uncomfortable feeling. She wanted the session to be over. She tried to ignore the feeling and encouraged Tom to keep up the good work. She later got a long text from Tom saying he didn't feel the sessions were helping, that he felt Valerie was just treating me like a paycheck, and that he needed to work with someone else. Valerie questioned whether she did look at her clients like a paycheck, feelings and thoughts she didn't typically have with other clients. She felt confused, not sure where things went wrong with Tom, and not sure of her own behaviors. So this right here. After that first meeting, Tom sent Valerie several texts. She answered them but felt a bit overwhelmed by his neediness. Right there. How did Valerie probably treat Tom at this point? She probably treated Tom like she wanted to be left alone. Maybe she did. Maybe that's exactly what she wanted to get across. There are personalities, there are people who, when they are treated that way, instead of just saying, oh, well, I don't get along with that person, instead of just saying, well, this social interaction didn't pan out, let's see what we're doing here, instead of figuring out, hey, you've misinterpreted what was going on here, instead of any of that, Valerie in this situation probably treated Tom lesser than, right? Poo-poo him. Go away. There are personalities, if Tom is one of these personalities, that then will reset their own definition of the self. Now, where this gets to be absolutely terrifying. So Tom, from this situation, gets told you are lesser than. Tom takes that in stride and says, okay, I am lesser than. Tom then approaches the next interaction with a person that he meets as if he were lesser than. How's that person going to treat him? As if he is lesser than. So now he has two different circumstances by which he has learned, Tom, God, you suck. So how's he going to start acting? He's going to start acting even more as if he sucks, which is going to encourage everyone else around him to treat Tom as if Tom sucks. Now, the poem in question, why do I bring any of this up? If I can scroll up here a little bit slower, maybe we would build suspense. So, a ghost, though invisible, still is like a place your sight can knock on, echoing. But here, within this thick black pelt, your strongest gaze will be absorbed and utterly disappear. That black pelt, that black cat, does not fight back against your gaze. It just accepts it. Just as a raving madman, when nothing else can ease him, charges into his dark night, howling, pounds on the padded wall, and feels the rage being taken in and pacified. This cat is taking that beating on the padded wall, the same way that Tom did when Valerie made him feel lesser than. He just took it, decided he was lesser than. She seems to hide all looks that have ever fallen into her, so that, like an audience, she can look them over, menacing and sullen, and curl to sleep with them. Because Tom and this black cat have accepted all of the put upon that they have received, they internalize that every night. There are people who really do this. There are people who do not know how to not do this. There are people who, when they are told they are stupid, believe they are stupid. Told they are slow, believe they are slow. Told they are worthless, meaningless, any of these types of things. They believe it. And little by little, everything in their world turns to that. But all at once, as if awakened, she turns her face to yours, and with a shock you see yourself tiny inside the gold and amber of her eyeballs, suspended like a prehistoric fly. When that gaze of that individual turns back on you, you know how you've treated them. And it probably isn't anything you have consciously done. The same way in this story with Valerie, what we have is Valerie seems to be someone who really enjoys her career, who really wanted to help Tom. And when he tells her she's treating him like a paycheck, she questions whether or not she was treating him like a paycheck. I think the truly insidious part of this type of psychology, which is not proactive, right? Which is not on purpose. The truly insidious thing about this type of psychology, where someone just accepts the put upon that they receive every day. Someone is told they are stupid, they believe they are stupid. The truly insidious part of that is that, guys, there's no way out. Guys, there's no way out without some type of intervention. Because an individual who has been treated this way and who accepts things in this way will never make that break for themselves. And when they come to you and you have not treated them particularly well, you didn't mean to treat them like a paycheck. You didn't mean to be dismissive of them, but you did. And they took it that way. And when they approach you, it will be as someone who had been bad to them. They will approach you in that way, and you did not mean to be bad to them. But they have spent their entire life assuming that they are being talked to in that way. I think that this is troublingly common with children. The children will accept this type of thing about themselves if they come from an environment where it's told to them. And I've always wondered how many people never become the person that they could have been because they accepted too much of someone else's opinion. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, pardon me. And there's poetry every Monday. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.